Hello. I wasn't going to come on here today, but I got an email that made me think, do you know what? This is what I'm going to talk about. And that's planning for 2026. Now, you might think, oh, God, Leanne, shut up. I'm still trying to sort Christmas. I've got my self-assessment bill that's due in January. I don't know where all this money's coming from. Like, shut up talking about the year ahead. But when you're talking about the year ahead and you plan that confidently, then this time next year can be a completely different kettle of fish. You can come into it thinking, right, well, I've got this money set aside for Christmas. I've got this money set aside for my self-assessment bill. And it's all done in real time rather than, okay, so this is my cash flow. This is what I've got coming in and going out. And then all of a sudden it's next January and you think, oh, shit, I haven't planned for that. And it's thousands of pounds. So there's a few things we can do to make sure you get to next December feeling a lot more confident with the numbers. And that starts small. So it starts with putting money away for Christmas. It also starts with putting money in a separate pot for tax. And knowing those numbers. So, and that starts with better bookkeeping. So if you're still doing your bookkeeping on a notepad or on a manual spreadsheet that you have to like absolutely physically sit down and think, right, where were we at last month? Where were we at last quarter? Then there's easier ways. Like it's 2025, nearly 2026. So how do we use the things that we have available to us to make it easy? Because let's be honest, we've got far more important things to worry about than do the numbers stack up. And when you think of it like that, think of what's important. Think of who deserves your attention, who needs you to be at 100%. So whether that's the kids, whether that's your other half, your friends, you, like how do we create a business that supports the life you want to live? And that starts with forward planning. It starts with like a bit of forecasting, which sounds a bit corporate, but that's the way the big businesses do it. And actually the same applies to small business, because when you apply those things, you might not want £1 million turnover. You might not want a massive, great big business, but what it does, it frees your mind to actually put your attention where it's most needed. So if you could say turn manual monthly bookkeeping from physically writing it on a notepad or physically putting it in a spreadsheet to being a few clicks here and there, and you can see your up-to-date position every quarter, then all of a sudden it goes from being a massive mammoth task, like this big massive thing that you're putting off and putting off and putting off, to actually something you could either outsource or something that you could do in quite a short space of time. So then you can concentrate on other stuff, on the important things. But these little details have bigger implications. So if you don't do those things, if you don't make it easy for yourself, then down the line it's going to be harder. It's the same principle as like if you don't exercise now and you think, oh, I'll exercise one day, and then all of a sudden you get a health condition, then you think, right, I'm going to exercise. But actually, if you exercise from the off, the hard stuff's been done first, and then it's easier down the line. So it's almost doing it before you want to make it easy in the long run. So what's going to give you the kick up the butt to do it for this next year? How's that going to feel when you can manage that money well, when you can manage it with confidence, and when you can actually, you've got that headspace to say, right, this is where my business is at. It feels good. It's generated me this amount of income, which means X, Y, and Z. I've already got that pot put away for tax. So if I find out that actually my tax is £3,000 rather than £2,000, I've actually only got £1,000 to find rather than a full £3,000 bill. And it just makes it just takes that weight off. And in the background, I've got people who have never really given that focus to their monetary things. They've never sat and thought about it logically. It's always just been an emotional thing. And actually, when we've sat down and gone through the figures and looked in depth at what's making you money, what's not, what needs to be increased, who do you want to pay properly, then actually all the pieces fit together. You think, oh, hang on, I've got a series of easy, straightforward steps that I need to take. And then all of a sudden, my life's completely different. Like, it feels so much better. The anxiety that I'm carrying, I thought it was about something else, but it's actually about this money stuff. So it just puts everything into place. And that doesn't mean that, like, if you're not good with numbers, you're scared with them, they'll always bring about such a sense of fear. Like, that's where I come in. I used to love counting my pocket money when I was younger. I love putting things in pots and investments and always have a big master plan of what I want to invest in next. And that doesn't, a lot of that's more logical for me. The emotion doesn't always come into it as much. So if I can be of a help to make you do what you're good at through your business, so do all the good stuff like working with your customers, like design, like all the fun stuff of actual delivery and meeting new people, then great, you do that. I'll help with the numbers, because actually I never used to realize that the numbers were such a sense of fear. I just thought that everybody else could do it like I could. And now, like over the last 6 months, I've kind of, right now, yeah, this is a great sense of fear, especially in mums who've got 15 million other things to do, and it's just another mental load. So let's take the mental load off. Let's look ahead at 2026 to feel as confident as possible as you can and to act like that business owner. So these big corporates, they are companies. They have somebody who is in charge of the business. The business and them aren't all the same. They're not one identity. So let's apply that thinking to smaller business and use those tools around smaller business to help everything else grow, to get everything else where you want it to be. Because the reasoning behind having a small business isn't for profit margins or dividends or payouts to shareholders. It's for school clubs. It's for a family holiday. It's for Christmas. It's for birthdays. It's for being able to provide the life for your family that you always wanted to, or to give them that security that you always thought was possible. So let's do that. And if you need my help, then you know where I'm at. Yeah, those are my thoughts for today. So bye-bye. No doubt you'll see me next week. See you later.